Hi, I'm Laura Maniec. I'm the owner of Cork Buzz and a master sommelier. I am so psyched for you to try these wines today. This week, this pack is just, I don't know, I keep saying it's my favorite pack and then I taste more wine and we put more packs together, but this is definitely a favorite. It's an incredible pack. It's 4 delicious wines you might not have otherwise tried or heard of, and the theme of this week's pack is called Calatal. So essentially you know that there's a region called California, and certainly you know about the country of Italy. But you might not realize is that a lot of Italian immigrants settled in California really early on and brought with them their grape growing expertise, and in some cases literally in their suitcases grapevines or cuttings from their vines, and made a new home or new opportunity in California. In the case of Seghesio, I mean, we're talking, 18 generations of families of grape growers and winemakers. So just so you know, this week I thought it would be really exciting to try basically an old world, new world comparative. You have this old world region like Italy, which is generally known for its like really earthy, more subtle flavors, less power, less oak, versus a new world region, which is California. And in this case, California is going to be more bold and more fruit forward and more generous, and in some cases more oaky. So we have 4 red wines. We have a Sangiovese from the Chianti region. It's an unbelievable producer, very classic. We have a Sangiovese, same grape, from Sonoma, from, again, a really beautiful, old school, traditional Italian winemaking family called Seghesio. And then we have this delicious grape, maybe new to you, which is called Primitivo, known to be related to the red Zinfandel grape that's also very famous in California. But this Primitivo is from the southern part of Italy in Apulia. And then to round things off, just to like give you like a little bit of a twist, we have the Super Tuscan. No, it's not Super Tuscan. It's actually Super Tuscan inspired. It's a California wine, which is blend of Sangiovese, Cabernet, and Syrah. So all 4 of these wines are delicious and perfect for your Sunday supper. So our first wine is called Antica Cantina Ceppaiano, which is a Chianti, and it is from Tuscany in Italy. I really love this wine. I think it's pretty classic. When you think about Chianti, if you don't know what that means I generally think Chiantis are really on this lighter style, lighter color, almost like a really beautiful red cherry color. Somewhat thin skin, meaning you can kind of read through it. And generally they have this cherry, like almost like a sour cherry or raspberry, orange zest, sort of earthy quality with like tomato leaf, even like fresh herbs like tarragon and basil and oregano. Anything you would want to put in a tomato sauce is basically the nose of Chianti. I really love this one. I feel like at the end it has this nice pucker, like sour, but at the same time makes your mouth water. Like it's just this incredible wine that just really craves like Parmesan cheese or pecorino, or maybe like even if you wanted to put out a little spread in your first course of like mozzarella and pepperoni and some crackers. Like this is perfect with like especially rosemary crackers. Kind of getting myself hungry here for a minute, but Italian wines in general are known to have like a little bit of tannin and acid, and this certainly doesn't disappoint. It has that like dusty feel that you get in like almost like a crunchiness on the finish that again, some people love even on its own. Other people think Italian wines are really better with food. So it's totally up to you. But Antica Cantina Chianti, I think it's just beautiful and it's perfect for Sunday sauce night. So wine number 2 is, I don't know, man. I have no words actually. It is an amazing wine that I'm pumped to tell you about. So Seghesio Sangiovese, it's from Sonoma. It's kind of a tongue twister. Seghesio Sangiovese, Sonoma. Eduardo Seghesio. Literally, their winery comes from a vineyard called Chianti Station. Like it could not be more perfect. But this Sangiovese is obviously a California wine. And I think the expression of the Sangiovese grape in this part of California is like really special. And Sangiovese, I think the only critique or the only criticism that a guest or you guys might have is it's so sour, it's so tart, and you know, it's one of the things that make the Chianti so beautiful is that it's so perfect for food. Whereas this Sangiovese is grown in like this sunny place where there's no shortage of sunshine and the grapes get really ripe. And actually, I wanted to talk about this idea of the grapes getting ripe versus sweetness in wine. So we often use the word, I want a dry wine, or we use that and we talk about it and it's like, what does that really mean? So technically, all red wine would be dry because the job of a grape is to have sugar that then gets converted into alcohol. So in the case of Sangiovese, this wine had X amount of ripeness and it became like a sour grape and it had some sugar and we converted that sugar into alcohol. In the case of this second Sangiovese from Seghesio, it had a lot more potential to ripen because of the sunshine. And as a result, this Sangiovese has more sugar potential, thus more alcohol, but it also tastes like slightly jammier or like juicier, like that same strawberry and cranberry and raspberry that you got in Sangiovese from Chianti, in this case, is just like sun-kissed. It's like macerated, jammy, juicier. So for example, when I'm thinking about cooking and I'm like underripe tomatoes, you know, I need to put a little sugar in my sauce with the Chianti, it's something like that. Whereas this one is, the tomatoes are so ripe and they're so fresh and so juicy that we don't need any sugar in our sauce. So anyway, more technically speaking, a vineyard that was planted in California in 1910, very, very old vines, like 100-year-old vines in this case. This wine is so good. It's like having like the perfect eggplant parmesan. The Feudo Croce Primitivo di Manduria, it's a mouthful, literally and figuratively. It's an unbelievable grape. So in this case, Primitivo is a grape, but it's also known to be a parent grape to the grape Zinfandel. And Zinfandel is pretty much like when you think of Italy when you think of California and local grapes, Zinfandel is the grape you think of. So that's why I wanted to include it. I wish in some ways we had like a fifth or a sixth wine in the pack because I would have included a Zinfandel to taste side by side, but maybe you'll have a Zinfandel from a previous pack or buy a Zinfandel in the future from the weekly tasting and you'll get to try it next to this Primitivo. But just to speak about this wine, Feudo Croce, this is a wine for bolognese sauce. So it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit richer, it's obviously Italian in region, but its soul, I think, is in California. Like it has this juicy, jammy, confected, almost like blueberry pie thing, which as well is like ripe fruit. This wine comes from Apulia in the south, like in the boot of Italy, and it's just no shortage of sunshine. So in that blackberry, blueberry, jammy, juicy way with that subtle like white pepper, black pepper spice, it's just really a good wine for obviously Sunday sauce, but in general, anything like meaty and smoky. Back to the eggplant, if you're a vegetarian, it's certainly like eggplant that's been roasted and smoked on the grill. This is the wine. Last but not least is this wine called Petroni, which is technically called Rosso di Sonoma, which I think is kind of cute and interesting because in Italy you often see the name like Rosso di something. So you'll see Rosso di Montalcino or Rosso di Montepulciano. So clearly these guys are definitely palatales in nature. But Rosso, just essentially in Italy, it means like a young wine. So if you think about Brunello di Montalcino, that's the big age-worthy wine. But the Rosso di Montalcino is the young, kind of more approachable or fresher wine. So that's cool that this is Rosso di Sonoma. The other thing that's really interesting about this wine is that it's inspired by this idea of Super Tuscan. So I need to explain Super Tuscan. Basically, there's no regulations in Super Tuscan. Essentially, it was a category that was made up or a name that was said by journalists. It was something that they were like, these wines are superior or better than what we normally grow in Tuscany, so we should call the category Super Tuscan. But I was started really by the family that owns Sassicaia. So they had this grape, Sangiovese, which is the grape in this blend mostly. And they said Sangiovese is beautiful. As you know from earlier in the pack, it's a grape in Chianti, and it's really nice, but we want bigger wines. We want wines that can compete on the world scale of people that love Cabernet. They want to drink Tuscan wine. And Sangiovese is just too light. You remember from the color. So what they did was they said, let's get some international grapes. In this case, there's Cabernet and Syrah, but in other cases in Tuscany, they would say like Cabernet is really, really good, and it can boost up the color and the flavor and the body of our Sangiovese. So Sassicaia was like, great, Sangiovese for flavor, Cabernet for body and tannin and ageability. And they started making these blends, which were not allowed in Tuscany, or they weren't allowed in Italy by the DOC, which is basically the regulation. And so they had no category. They couldn't call them Chianti, so they called them Super Tuscan. Anyway, flashback to our wine. This is a Super Sonoma wine. I just maybe made that term up. And it's a blend of Sangiovese, Cabernet, and Syrah. So by nature, you get the little bit of color from the Sangiovese, which is like that garnet, like slightly lighter color. Then you get this deeper purple, like almost like more magenta color from the Cabernet and the Syrah. And the same on the nose. The nose smells a little bit like sour cherry and sour cranberry and has that like signature, as you guys are now becoming experts, Sangiovese nose of like fresh herbs. But then at the end, it has like that blackberry, that cassis, that cedar, vanilla that you expect in a great Cabernet. So it's really truly the best of all of these worlds. This is, to me, like, it's Sunday supper, but we've splurged and we've gone out and got, you know, Bistecca Florentine. So we have like a porterhouse steak and we want this wine with it. Oh my God, so good. Thank you so much for, you know, having Sunday with me and sharing these beautiful wines. I'm really thrilled to be able to introduce you to new things, and it's really exciting to me, but more importantly, like, I love the fact that we can get to know each other better. You know, I get to teach you a little thing or two about wine and share these beautiful wines. So please tag us on social media, at Laura Maniec on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Let me know, like, which one of these wines was your favorite. You know, what do you want to see more of in the next video? Anything we can do to make your weekly tasting more exciting and more interactive and more personal, of course. Have a great day. Thanks so much.